All right, here we go. SomeBuddies Podcast, episode 24. We in the building. First and foremost, like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Shout out to our sponsors, Rich Print Shop. I like to get that out the way. We got our usual suspects in the building.
Yo, yo.
Mr. Chrissy Ledusky.
Yo, yo.
With the ill radio voice.
I just want to shout out All Construction for the gear, fresh gear. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah. We got Mr. J-Mac, the Baxter.
What up?
Mr. Recovery Conscious Mind, Mr. Ascend, Mr. Sober Strong.
Yeah, Ascend's getting, we're going to have to talk about Ascend a little bit tonight.
All right. Well, as long as you pay for the sponsorship, fucking.
No problem.
Yeah.
Talk about whatever you want.
Justin Etling, and we got a special guest in the building. I'm actually very excited. I'm very excited for this guest. I mean, I don't know. I usually, I'll try to, I can't promise you shit. Keep my fucking intro rant down, but I get fired up when certain people come in the room, especially when they're like big parts of my life. So, Mr. Fred Bush. Welcome. So this is a man that I've known for about 6 years.
6.5 or so.
Six and a half, coming up on around 7 years, and I've been a part of his process and his journey. He's been instrumental in everything myself and Justin have done up here in New Hampshire. And what I think about when I think of you, Fred, I just and I don't even know if this. It's like it's never too late to become the man that you're destined to be, right? And for me, like looking at you, like I truly believe you were destined to be a light worker, a man of service. Like you're one of these people that naturally came into the recovery world, the recovery field, and just became of service. How can I help? And you even did that to a fault early on in your process. But it's something internally a part of who and what you are, and you make major impacts on people around you, and you're from an old school mentality.
Yeah.
And I've watched that adapt and change over time. You know, you're from the school of just take the fucking the cotton out of your ass and stick it up your face or some shit and sit down and shut the fuck up. School of recovery, do what you're told and shut up.
Yep.
Follow direction.
Follow direction.
Oh my gosh.
Still follow direction.
That's right.
Yeah.
In a kind and loving way.
And it's adapted. That's also and so you've been on a journey. You've been on on this process. You've also it's the warrior mentality that I talked about. I've watched you fall. I've watched you pick yourself up. I've watched you dust yourself off, and I've watched you get back on and not continue and not give up, continuing to try to get this. And who you are as a man, who you are in my life, who you are in so many people in recovery's lives is so important. And when I say a light worker, man, it's like for me, what a light worker is someone who becomes a light because of the work that they put in, and then the internal change starts to exude off them, and like insects to bright lights, people are drawn to them because of like what they're becoming, and that's who you are now. People are naturally drawn to you, and you're an amazing father, you're an amazing grandfather, and you're just an amazing man in long-term recovery. And also, side note, at one point, this doesn't even have anything to do with what I'm talking about, but I just love bringing up the fact that at one point in your journey, you fell, and you told me and Justin to go fuck ourselves. And
We did.
Yeah.
Several times.
Multiple times. And I guess the point of that is, me telling that is we get to give and receive unconditional love in this journey as well. You know?
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite stories
Oh man, that was
of
hilarious.
of you out there falling off the wagon. But I won't rant no longer. But I'm super excited to have you on the show, Fred. And I want to get a little serious before I know this is going to turn into a fucking a shit show. Because I know you're a little nervous, and I know Chris is over
Dying
there.
to come at me, yeah.
I'm ready.
He's
I know.
yeah. He said to me. He said at the office today, "You're in his world now, Grandpa."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
It only took 24 episodes from the grow
I'm
some
ready.
balls.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited for this.
Yes.
So I just start talking?
You can,
Yeah, you
man.
gotta-
That's one thing.
You gotta talk in the mic though.
Okay, I'm talking to Mike. First, I want to say, and this comes from the bottom of my heart, I'm truly blessed to be sitting here right here with you guys after everything. And I don't want to blow your heads up because I work for these guys now. And but if it wasn't for you two guys,
Hold on. If you're
Gotta
going to
sit
say
here. I'm
something
saying-
nice
I'm
about
saying
us,
I am
say it
good.
into the mic so
Okay.
everybody can hear
All
it.
right,
Yeah.
so everybody can hear.
So we can have it in recording.
They changed, literally changed my life. I did the work, but they changed my life. If I didn't meet you two, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be just, well, that's nice stuff you just said about me being a good grandfather, a good father, a good employee, good worker. You didn't say that, but I am.
You're a great employee, Fred.
You are.
It started out, and now we're sitting here doing all this fancy stuff, okay? And it started in a living room on Cross Street with 10 dudes and you two on a Sunday night. And I met these guys, and I'm like, who the fuck are these guys, man? Because this guy was talking about one thing that I'm not even going to mention on the internet. It just, I grew to absolutely love you and what you did for this community. And this community would not be what it is today if it wasn't for you. And my grandchildren wouldn't have, a good grandfather, and I wouldn't be part of this community if it wasn't for you two. So you helped change my life without a doubt. And
Fred, you know how you usually yell at the office and at housing?
yeah.
We need you to talk like
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Treat
So
treat
thank
that
you.
like it's a
Right.
microphone.
So thank you for changing my fucking life, and
There we
and
go.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I have just really started to notice that I am like a changed individual. It was like that. I was a straight AA guy, and I would come in AA really great out of the gate, and I'm going to do this, and I would run through the 12 steps really quick, and then I'd be done, and I was better, and then I'd listen to my brain. And so I believed that worked. And when I met you guys, I was an AA guy through and through, and I believed that was the only way to do it. And now I don't believe just the 12 steps is the only way to do it. However you seek recovery is the right way for you. And I do believe about the human connection, but I do believe that without a spiritual connection, because it was basically God, and the universe, whatever God you happen to believe in, that's what changed my life, and I became willing to want to change and stuff. So I listened and I followed direction.
Yes.
And I was uncomfortable in Narcotics Anonymous, and I did fall. I had 2 years clean. I thought working in recovery was my recovery, and I learned that it was not. And I fell flat on my face, and I was so embarrassed I couldn't come back here. These guys wanted to send me to Florida when I relapsed, and I was like so embarrassed I couldn't do it. And I just really, well, at least I thought she was beautiful at the time, barking at me, "You're not leaving me alone." So I didn't. So after we both relapsed, I made the brilliant decision to move in with her, and that worked out really well. But at any rate, I made it back here after saying all those nasty things, and just real quick, it was with Justin. I called him on the 4th of July. I was shooting dope above 7-Star Pizza right here in the city.
Shout out 7-Star.
Yeah, it was great, man. There was bed bugs in my apartment, and it was just not a very nice place, and I had had enough. Somebody was going to die, and rest in peace. One of my closest people is dead now. He was in there with me, David, rest in peace, and my son was in there with me, and I knew somebody was going to die, and I just had enough, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. And Justin said to me, he goes, "Well, I'm on vacation, Fred, and I don't know what I expected. I think I expected him to send a limo for me, because I had done so much for Rise Above. I opened all these houses for you. I worked for you, and you paid me, and did all this nice stuff, but for some reason, I thought he was going to send a limo for me, and he goes, Fred, go to the fire station, and I will sponsor you. And it was scholarship, is what he had said. I thought he was going to sponsor me, being my sponsor. So I'm like, okay, I'm calling this guy for help. I'm sitting here destitute, and he's sending me to the fire station. So I said, fuck you. I'm not going to the fire station. I think I hung up on him.
No, you said actually.
Then I think I called you back and hung up.
You were like, the fire station? Are you fucking kidding me? The fire station? You think I should go to the fire station? Go fuck yourself, Justin. And he was sending me these texts. It was just over and over.
Do you still have the text?
Your ex-friend, ex-bro, Fred.
Ex-bro.
Like, dude, it was.
That's how you know you're getting petty.
It was not a proud moment.
No, it was all good.
But
I was like, okay.
But at any rate.
But at the time, just to defend myself here.
The fire station is where you went to get placed. That's because anybody watching this that doesn't understand the dynamic of the safe stations. Like, why the fuck would you send them to a fire station?
But in Nashua, you go to the fire station and get placed in detox.
Yeah.
We don't have detox.
That's where I went. I went to the fire
and Fred,
station.
When he drinks, he can't even walk. You literally have to carry him to places. So we couldn't just take him in. You know what I mean? He had to go to detox. So the reason I was trying to get you to the fire station was just the detox piece so you could come to the Process Recovery Center. But he was, back then, it's so interesting how addicts and alcoholics can get picky about their treatment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
that was me.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, who do you think you're talking to? The fire station?
Yeah.
But at any rate, what I did come to believe in, it's a shame that they're not really in existence anymore, because working for Revive, I learned that that helped so many people. And I brought my son there, and they treated him with nothing but respect. And I ended up crying when I dropped him off there. These guys were so respectful to him. And it taught me how wrong I was about a lot of stuff. And so I was wrong about that. And
you were wrong?
Yes, that one time. No, what's happened in being in recovery is I've learned how wrong I was about a lot of things. That you will get a lot more, people will listen to you a lot better if you're not screaming at them and pointing in their faces, because that never worked out very well for me. And when they used to tell me to calm down all the time. When I was the first house manager at Cross Street, and I mean, I ended up doing a lot of yelling because these guys trusted me, and I wanted to do a really good job, and I couldn't believe that they trusted me just fresh out of the prison with money. And I'm like, what is wrong with these guys? I mean, and what it did, but it gave me a responsibility, a sense of responsibility I was very proud of, and I wanted to do a really good job. And my way was, like I said, at that point, what I knew was sit down, shut up, follow direction. Yeah. And I thought everybody should do that. And I thought I was doing so wonderful. But something really wonderful happened at that sober house, and that's why, to the core of my soul, I believe in sober living. It's not for everybody, but for me, if it wasn't for Rise Above and living in a sober house, I know for a fact I wouldn't be clean right now, because I needed the accountability, I needed the camaraderie, and I would have gone back to my brother's house, an active house.
Well, beyond that, think about that. There's like 5 of those guys that are still like in long-term recovery out of the 10.
That were there. And
with years, 5 years, 7 years, you know.
I mean, and there was a really good core group of guys. And I mean, none of us had a car. We walked to meetings. Now these guys, and it just blows me away. They can't walk down to the store to get a pack of cigarettes, but that's beside the point. You're going to get out of this what you put in. But at any rate, and I thoroughly believe it, and I still live in sober living. I'm actually trying to move out of it now, but I'm not rushing, and I'm really blessed in that sense too, because I've been able to, working here and doing this for a living. I've been able to straighten out my credit, completely change my role in my family. I am no longer the black sheep of the family. I have my whole family comes to me to ask advice on how to do things and what to do, and it blows me away. And I've gotten the opportunity to straighten out my credit because I follow direction. Okay,
I like that.
I've got to go through the steps because I follow direction. And I had to, learn to dig a little bit deeper and become an open book, which I thought was the silliest thing that I ever thought. That I was afraid to die alone. I was afraid to get hurt by women. And then I went and I told this woman that I was afraid she was going to hurt me, and then she did hurt me, and then I hated him for me telling it, but it actually worked itself out because that wasn't the person I was supposed to be with. And I find the more vulnerable and the more uncomfortable I become, that's where I'm growing and that's where I'm learning. And that changed me a whole lot and opened up doors, a perception that I don't believe that I have now. It's just like I accept people for where they're at. And I learned a lot in Recovery Coaching Academy, too. And I mean, I'm really blessed that I'm back at the process working because I was the first.
Hold on. Time out, Fred. There's a lot of stuff I want to unpack there. And first off, if he's going to be talking this fucking much, get him on a mic that is going to...
Do you want to switch mics?
Yeah, switch.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, perfect.
So
yeah.
Now that you've thrown me off of my
No. We're gonna unpack a lot of shit that you said in there because you were like you just breezed
Everywhere.
by a lot of fucking important stuff, dude. You just went from 1930 to fucking 2020 in about 6 minutes. So we need to.
I'm just getting started, too.
I know, but there's important stuff. There's important stuff in your journey, man, especially for people that are tuning in because. Obviously, the premise of this show is we try to be a message of hope. We try to be like an alternate voice to whatever fucked up voice you have in your head telling you you can't, or that are creating of the limited belief systems, whatever barriers to entry and all this shit. And then it's like a dissecting of the pitfalls of all these things that take us off our path and can divert us into these dark places, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, wherever the fuck it takes us in. And so there's important things that we talked about. So part of the part of your first time around, you talked about getting over consumed in work and the misconception of like working in recovery is actually doing recovery. And then there's like not taking care of your spiritual condition and giving from a cup that's empty and constantly doing that. Because an important part of this, especially we want to get out there and we want to begin a process of helping people because you get exposure to this shit and you feel the profound effect of change. It gets you excited and we want to go out there and begin helping everybody. But this isn't like an unlimited supply of like shit internally. Like this is like we get our fix on a daily basis. We have to refill it and then we distribute it throughout our day and we're left with whatever we have at the end of the night. And our responsibility to it is to continue to feed this machine, the internal machine, whether it's the mind, body, spirit. And so there's that important part. That's a huge pitfall that people fall prey to in recovery. There's that. Then there's the relationship component. You know what I mean? It's like falling in love. Oh my God, she's going to fix me. I need this. I love this. And don't do it. And that makes us, first off, you fuck around telling an addict, no, you shouldn't.
I want to.
Yeah.
That's like, fuck you.
Don't get in a relationship. Then get into a relationship next day.
Oh, of course. You tell me not to do something now. Internally, I'm defiant.
Yeah.
It's just by nature. And a lot of people. And I'm not from the school that says don't get into a relationship. I'm from the school that is like have a foundation underneath you.
Yeah.
But because a relationship, just like anything, a very busy job, a very going back home. We have to have a strong foundation. There has to be something that we have to provide us the tools that are going to be necessary to get us through these experiences of whatever we're going through while we're clean. And so where people fuck up is because we decide that the fix of, because we come in with the internal motivation to change what's going on inside of us. And then we decide something from the external world is going to be that provider of change. And that's where we get it fucking confused because that's not how this shit works. Yep. That's not how this shit. Yes, it can provide temporary relief.
Yeah.
Temporary relief. It's like rubbing fucking icy hot on your back. It doesn't fix your back.
But at the same note, I would also say that life circumstances can be a reflection to see yourself also. So it's like, it's not always about just it's so easy for people to say, stay out of a relationship so you can work on yourself. But then when you get in a relationship, you also will see parts of yourself you would never see until you get into a relationship. So there's this school of thought that like, my belief is, be open to the life circumstances that are happening. Start to process them with people and God and meetings. you put on a different lens. You put on a recovery lens where my whole life is a learning experience. You know what I mean? And as long as I stay in that process, it doesn't matter what happens in my life. I'm going to stay clean because I'm utilizing the support system. So I'm looking at things through a different lens. Where people fail is that they decide, oh, I'm going to do recovery, but I'm going to do these 4 things out, and these don't apply to my recovery. So, like, you know what I mean? Going to meetings is my recovery, but this relationship has nothing to do with my recovery. It's like, nah, everything in your life has to do with your recovery because your thinking is your problem. You suffer from the disease of addiction, which the core of it is our negative thinking. So if we're not processing our thinking about any area of our life, I agree with you. Could be a relationship, could be a busy job, could be, gambling, could be jerking off too much.
Whatever it is.
Dude, it can be a million different things. And it's like, and it's so easy to criticize the person that gets into a relationship, but the guy sitting home watching too much television is doing just as much damage as the guy in the relationship. You know what I mean? But it's easy to attack the guy in the relationship when it's like, nah. The difference is, are you being open and honest about who you are? Because if you do that, it's like when we're open, we're in my opinion, when we live openly, we're in God's will. When we live closed in self-will is just like, so it's not about the actions, it's about what you're doing with the actions.
And in my foundation that I'm talking about, which is, I agree exactly with what you're saying, because I'm not from the school of no relationships. I don't believe in no anything. I believe in it's good to have life experiences in real time, but the foundation is the connection, honesty, and the relentless communication, because with that, you can start to fucking unpack what's happened and how you're feeling and the emotional repercussions of these new experiences. And we get, and even in step work, get asked questions like, has my disease, has it been active in other areas recently? It's like, that's an indication of allowing you to know that now beyond the drugs and alcohol, they're no longer in the picture. Where is the disease surfacing now in your life? And when you have a foundation, you're talking about that, especially when you have the right types of connections, you're able to, it's like, it's as simple as this. When me and Justin first started Rise Above, how much shit did we get when we were like, oh, you can have guests over. You can have a girl over. Oh, yeah, you can have a guy over.
Co-ed.
That was a little crazy, but that's because that was year 1 and we only had one house.
Exactly.
And it changed.
And they didn't live in the same apartment. It was a full family and two units.
2 apartments were men, 2 apartments were women. But like we just said, there was great success that came out of that house.
Really great.
So it's
and
like,
women
it's
too,
so easy for people to decide exactly what's right and what's wrong. Says in the 11th step, enforced morality lacks the power of a true spiritual way of life. So why are we incorporating enforced morality into the program? They're bullshit teachings, to be honest.
And ultimately, it's we want the experiences that are going to occur to happen, especially like with us. Our philosophy, as far as like when we opened Rise Above, like let's get as realistic as possible. Therefore, that like the help that's required can come in real time and not after. Even as far as like our treatment. Remember with the fights we had over like, why don't you take their phones? It's like, why the fuck would we do that?
Yeah.
I want their phones to go fucking apeshit while they're with us.
Yeah.
I want them to deal with everything that's going to come through that phone while they're with us. Why am I going to isolate them from the reality that is inevitable and wait till they're no longer with us for them to have exposure to that? That philosophy, and I know a lot of people and centers, and this ain't a knock on them, it's just my belief system. I want the fucking mayhem and chaos to occur when you're with us.
So you can utilize the tools and the support system that's going to help you to deal with all those things, because you can stay clean through anything. You can stay sober through anything. But it's like when you start to try to live in a box of this is the only thing that you can do, it's like, where's the God in that? Where's the spiritual aspect? It's like, oh, so I'm God now, and I can decide who can and can't be in a relationship. You can't be in a relationship. You can't be in a relationship. Oh, apparently, if you're married, that's
like, okay. That
it's
you're
a
grandfathered in. Yeah,
it's a loophole.
That's
You can get in if you're married.
You're grandfathered in.
Yeah, exactly.
You're grandfathered in because it's different. Not that couldn't cause any stress and anxiety on you. I mean, Jesus Christ. You know what I mean?
My sponsor.
Probably worse. But either way, it's like.
You're such a bitch.
So it's not that I'm not, like, at the end of the day, all these things can take you out, but you can get through all these things clean too. It's like, dude, my best friend lost his mother at 9 months clean. It's like, was he not supposed to be in a relationship with his mother? Because I can guarantee you factually that it was a lot fucking more painful to lose your mother than to lose some girlfriend you just met in the fucking sober house. But guess what? He utilized the tools of the program and he stayed clean through it. So why don't we get out of this fucking black and white thinking of what people can and can't do? Because it hurts people. It doesn't help people.
Yeah, well,
But
real
you
quick,
do have
but
to have some guidelines.
Hold on a second. That coming up, that subject, honestly though, no, because I have experience with that, and I've lost relatives in recovery, and that was sensitive, and had to fight through it to stay clean. But this seems to come up on a bunch of podcasts I've noticed with like relationships, and it's not written anywhere to knock it in it. However, let's be honest, we see a lot of people that are new to recovery. They fucking dive in and think they're in love, and next thing you know, either one wants to go to meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, because the guy that's watching too much TV, he can work through that and show up to a meeting. There's not someone there judging him. When someone's with someone and then that person starts fucking around and the friend, and I have experience, this is coming from experience, this isn't just opinion, where I've chased the wrong thing and I got myself into some drama and I didn't want to fucking go to those meetings because that person was going to be with someone else. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got myself in more drama, and then that person didn't want to come to the meetings that I was at. So, and I see what you're saying, because I also was very rigid in thinking one way back then too. And I see and understand exactly what you're saying, where it's like the whole piece with the phones. I've seen people witness an ex or a dealer or whatever, and they end up talking about it in group. Yeah. It becomes apparent, because if you just shut that off for 30 days,
that's not.
You could be doing great for 30 days, but the first time you're dealing with someone that's like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" Right? Because no, they do. They hit them up, and they say, people talk to us every day about this. This person hit me up, it's my dealer, or this is my ex, and this is who I run with, and all those little scenarios, but they talk about it in group, or they talk about it in housing. And if that was like after 30 days clean, you got that, they wouldn't even know how to fucking deal with it.
Yeah. So the only problem I have with what you're saying, Jay, and it's not a problem, but it's like, so your experience was you did it, and you're still clean. Because really, you're supposed to be sharing our experience in the
clean
program.
again.
Clean again, but you stay clean the first time too.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
I'm seeing your side. I'm just telling you my side.
No, and I get it, and I'm not disagreeing with your side. The only issue I have is that, like, a lot of the times these young guys, they're gonna make the decisions they're gonna make. They need us to support them. Is my issue with it? So the second you decide you shouldn't do that, you cut off being a support system to them. Because then when they go to do it, they don't feel safe sharing it with you, because you already told them they shouldn't do it. So now they feel like they're...
This is what I say to that. And this is where I agree with you. I'm sharing how I used to view it, because old timers used to be like, "Hey, kid, fucking stay out of a relationship, first year." Right? Yeah. That was the approach that people had with me. Now what I say to guys, because it happens left and right. We see it all the time. I say, you have to understand something in recovery. There's consequences for your actions. You can go into something and know damn right that it could be disastrous. I'm just here to let you know that you don't have to get high over it, but be ready to face those consequences. 100%. The feelings, not wanting to go to the meeting. Now you don't want to hang out with certain guys because that guy was hanging out with that guy. I've been through that, but now this is the fucking older version of coming back and been through it. And that's what I do to piggyback what you're saying is, listen, I'm giving you a suggestion of what I did and what will most likely come around the corner. You're not riding off into the sunset with this girl, and you know that. And they'll be like, "Yeah, you're right." Okay, so there's going to be some feelings and some consequences if that doesn't work out that you have to be willing to deal with.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
go ahead.
I'm
hold
just
on.
touching on both sides.
Go ahead, Chris.
Are you guys sure?
Yeah, I'm fucking...
Dude, it's like it's tough to jump in on this.
Yeah.
No, I was going to touch upon the phone thing, then the relationship thing, but because I was in a program where it was
Thanks,
locked.
Chris. So, Fred, I want to get back to...
Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. This is going to be my last episode. I want to say that first.
Your microphone's not even on. Go ahead.
No, I was in a program where lockdown, no cell phone, nothing like that. There was a phone on the unit, but I had no one to answer. But when I did turn my phone on after 30 days and I went to the next level, they handed me my phone and my wallet back, and they're like, "You have hours of free time. Go out and give me a bus pass." As soon as I turned my phone on, everyone was hitting me up. I had money in my pocket and I had a bus pass. I had a way to get from point A to point B if I needed to. And I remember standing on the edge of the property like, I'm not ready for this. Because life still happens. People still hit me up. Yeah, Keystone. Shout out Keystone. You know what it was like there, the fishbowl and everything. God bless that place. You know, the clients now, you know, they don't for a process we work at, they don't know how lucky they have it and stuff to be able to go to the store and have options of what they want to eat and everything like that, because it wasn't like that at the program I was at. But one thing they did do is, you know, introduce me to 12 steps, which helped with the foundation, which you mentioned, right? And you mentioned too. And my sponsor was very honest. Any cracks in your foundation, it will crumble. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will. Yep. And he told me, don't get in a relationship, okay? And the first thing I did was get into a relationship. And I remember I was hiding it from him. He knew the whole entire time when I finally told him. He's like, I knew you were in a relationship. And it didn't work out. And he's like, so, like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to focus on me. He's like, that's the answer I want you to hear. He's like, he's like, I tell my sponsees not to get in a relationship, and all of them do. You would have been the first. He's like, you need to love yourself before you love someone else. Right? And, you know, that kind of taught me, like, the hot stove, right? Which boils down to, like, everything in my life. Someone tells me, don't do this. The stove is hot. I'm going to touch that stove because I need to learn the lesson myself. You know, and I think the cell phone thing is great that we do, because it's true. Life happens, and they can face it in a safe environment. They can face it in a safe environment, you know? And I think
it was like kind of like Mutombo, but he's like,
It was like a sassy Mutombo.
cute.
Hey, yes, Chris. You tell him.
No, I think that's one of the best things we do is the cell phone thing, because it makes and breaks. And if someone's not serious about being in our program, usually it takes them within the first day. They get the phone, the stress hits them, and that happens. Because it gives me anxiety thinking about the culture shock I had, and, like, the shock of, like, turning the phone on at the edge of Keystone property, and just, like, I can fight or flight. What do I want to do? You know, and thank God I started picking a fight. And I love you, Fred Bush. I just want to say that.
Thank you. Love you.
I want to contradict what I said, actually, a little bit.
Dick?
In that
Counterdick.
Contradict.
Hey, I want to count the dicks right now.
I'm gonna hop over this counter and give you the dick.
Yeah. So
retract or
not retract. I don't want to retract
anything but counter dick.
If you need me, I'll be over here counting dicks.
Whatever.
It does. It yeah.
There's no one way to do anything. This is my opinion. I do believe eventually you do need to learn this lesson of opening up. I do believe that it's important. But at the same note, Fred, stop putting your fucking hand up over there. You're distracting me.
It's way too early.
Jesus. 2 words in here. So is there a circumstance where structure and routine is required for a certain person? 100%. I think everybody's different. And I think that there's different paths for everyone. So let me just say that. Yeah. At the same note, I feel like if you're truly going to grow and change in recovery and get on a spiritual path, these are musts.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Fred?
Yeah, I was on a relationship thing, and you can't tell somebody not to do that because they're going to do it.
Correct.
Okay? The thing that I've learned and I'm going to talk about him, is I needed to be an open book about it and let him know what was going on, and I wasn't. I was telling him half the shit. That's what I think some of these people do. I'm not. I had to learn this from experience, and he basically called me on this shit, and he goes, "You're holding back a whole lot of shit."
Yeah, it's easy to say things are going well. You don't mention that she's talking to 4 other guys and that you're fucking stalking dudes driving past their fucking household. That's the shit you need to talk about. You need to talk about, like,
that was my point.
It's fucking me up. You know what I mean? Because X, Y, and Z. But people get embarrassed. You know what I mean?
It's out of fear, right? Out of judgment.
Or they get embarrassed, like, oh man, you know what I mean? I'm so insecure. I'm so hemmed up. It's like, join the club. Join the club.
This isn't supposed to happen.
You think you're the first guy to drive by your girl's house? You are not. All right. I did that for years. Okay. It's no big deal. Right. Talk about it.
Well, that was just my point. I mean, that's my point.
I took a leisurely drive from Cape Cod to Gloucester one time. Just, you know what I mean? It was 2:00 in the morning. I was just like, you know what?
I'm fucking feeling like a drive.
Maybe I just need to just drive by my girl's house in Gloucester right now.
I just want to do my impression of Fred right now when he speaks. So anyway, I'd like to tell you this little thing. Hey, they're fucking microphones, Fred. You speak.
Hey, I just follow directions.
So here's
follow directions.
Fred's
Here's
like,
the thing. Here's the thing in a relationship. You don't go into these really dangerous situations alone. We can't do things alone.
Correct. So let's unpack this because I like this. We're just and it's not about having the right. We're just throwing ideas out on the table, and whatever comes out, someone may pick and choose, and that's ultimately like my premise. My firm stance on all of this is I'm in alignment with everybody because I don't think there is one way to handle all things. I know how I handle things, right? I won't tell someone whether this shit's gonna work out or not or what it's gonna turn into. I'm different from Jay. Even though I can see the future just like he does, he's more willing to say, you're about to crash into the wall and be ready for it. Where me, it's like, I have an approach where I can't, I just had a conversation with a kid the other day. I know it's bad for me. I just can't stop talking. I can't stop talking to her. And I'm saying, I'm not telling you to stop talking to her. I'm telling you, don't stop talking to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. That's gonna work itself out in due time. And I don't know. Maybe you guys get married. Maybe she's the one. Maybe she's not the one. Maybe I don't have the answers for that. And I'm not gonna pretend and act like I do because there's been times where I thought something was gonna be a fucking a train. I wasn't sure what if Justin and Christina, I couldn't foresee that. Common sense would have told me that doesn't look too promising. They're fucking married. Yeah. So how am I? Yeah. How am I going to be and then give my advice based off of my assumptions of what I think it's going to turn into? I don't have that power. My thing is I've had guys tell me that their girls cheated on him and they still want to be with her. And I am not going to give my opinion and be like, don't take her back.
Real man. That's a real man. Real man stays. So, dude, it takes way more.
Yeah, that's coming down to opinion now with that, though.
Well, no, that's fine. That's fine, but it's easy. I just know for me, I've always held the line. That's unacceptable, and I'll walk away.
Marriage, though? Because I've had girls that cheated and I've never talked to them again.
No, I get it.
I'm just saying I won't tell them whether to stay or whether to go. That's their decision to make. My thing is like, no matter what, you're gonna be all right. That's I continue with the just the narrative that there's nothing that we can't get through. That we don't understand what the universe or God has planned for us or whatever. And here's the steps to make sure that you're going to continue to be okay. Stay in a place of transparency. Communicate fully and honestly with how you're feeling, what you're going through. Understand that you're not unique in the emotions that you're experiencing. You're not alone in this. And don't conform to like, I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm still in love, or I want to date this girl that I know is no good for me, or I want all these things, because it may not be what, because I say it all the time, it's not who you are, it's where you are in this current moment. It's not what's for you in the future, but it's just what you think you want right now. And my responsibility as anybody is just to love them unconditionally for where they're at and tell them, and with the knowledge that I have through my process and the data that I've collected, is you're going to be okay. And the plan ultimately is not for you to understand in the current moment. It's for you to look back in hindsight and have a real understanding of it.
And there's different advice for different circumstances. When I just threw it out there saying like, oh, that's, you're probably not going to marry. There's scenarios that pop up in my head just with us discussing that where, someone's giving you information that so much has happened that it's pretty clear that the healthy advice, right, is to probably walk away from that relationship. I've given you my story, right? In the past, like, hey, this is what I got going on. On the other end, you're like, this dude just got to get back or he's going to stay out there using. I mean, it's when I was using, I'm venting to you. Deep down, I knew it was over. You know what I mean? So different circumstances, different advice. Because sometimes, there has been scenarios where you see people maybe work that out. But let's be real. Sometimes someone comes to you with some shit and you just need to put a mirror in front of them and be like, dude, your life is a fucking mess. And part of it's due to that toxic-ass relationship that you're in. You know what I mean? That's what I meant by like, just be ready for the consequences. And I've seen people get through all that shit, divorces, someone cheating on them cheating, and still stay clean. So it's, it just comes down to different scenarios, I guess, basically is what I'm getting at.
And ultimately, everybody has the same consensus of what the foundation is, which is the staying in a state of connection, staying in a state of transparency with your truth no matter what, and continue to have dialogue and not allowing yourself from being embarrassed hinder you from telling your truth, right? Because that's
shame and guilt.
False pride, ego, all
addiction
that shit
owns you.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as you stay in that closed state, it owns you. and relapse is probably imminent. Is the tough part there. So like relentless communication, you share about it all the time, but the second that we're honest, we open ourselves to the universe. Literally, it's like you ask for help, you get it. You know what I mean? But the second that you're closed and you're trying to deal with it in and of your own volition, like you know what I mean? Like I can handle this, it's all good, you know what I mean? And you got all this craziness going on. That's when you're in trouble, you know? And so it's difficult. It like challenges how we've been taught to live. We've been taught, I mean, this world isn't like everybody be open and honest about who you are. And when you do falter, people attack you. This isn't like always a safe world, but you got to find the people that don't attack you and love you and support you unconditionally. And so I'm with you in that's the approach I try to take too. Because I know for me, most of the time, I don't need somebody to tell me what to do. I need to process, and I come to my own answers eventually. And sometimes it takes me a little longer than it should. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's like, for me, it's all a learning process. So even today, I mean, it doesn't matter how much clean time I have. I'm still in this process of sharing what's going on with me and unpacking the way that my ego attaches to different areas of my life, you know? And so it's like, it never stops for me, like personally.
And so, Fred, I want to get, and before I just had a thought too, it's when you try to come to any circumstance and any set of advice with anybody, or when your approach is from an approach of love, unconditional love, and if you can't get there, my belief, if I can't get to a place of the love component, bringing it in there, it means I'm attached somewhere to ego that's kept preventing me from just providing someone with unconditional love, because it's real hard to remove yourself from the attachment to whatever the fuck your head's telling you to just bring that love component to there, just to truly just love someone, and ultimately love, when you bring it into any set of advice, any set of anything, just like that, because especially in what we do, because I mean, I know you've struggled with this because you get tested, and I know this I want to bring up too, like you've had that thing, and I always ask you the same two questions when someone's fucking when someone's driving you up, when you're trying to help someone and they're just fucking hard-headed and they're not listening and they're doing everything against what is being suggested, and you see their fucking behaviors, and you probably understand where their path is taking them, and this and that. And I always ask you what, Fred?
You asked me, love them where they're at.
And what are the two things I want to know about them?
Look for the good in them.
Are they still clean?
Are they still right? Yes. Are they still clean? Number one.
And
tell them the other one.
Tell me the other one, because I forget.
I actually forget the second one right now, because
you're just hoping you could remind them. I know there's two things I told you. Tell me what they are.
Yeah, but ultimately, are they still clean? Then they still have a shot. That's all that matters. Like, and those behaviors.
Took me a long time to learn that too, because I was pointing, and that came from ego, which was foolishness. Because what the fuck do I know? It took me so long. It took me fucking 10 years to get clean. 10 years.
Dude, we're doing people's stories on Friday. I'm telling you, if you heard these people's stories, you understand why they're doing things.
Of course.
I mean, dude, we're talking like, people's stories out there, they just blow me away sometimes.
Wild. Oh, yeah. They're wild.
Especially the women, dude. The women are just like suffering. Yep. We just live in a dark culture that just takes advantage of women, and it's really sad, to be honest. I literally cry on Fridays listening to these women's stories because, like, of the abuse that they've suffered by men, really. You know what I mean? In their addiction. And it's like, so why are people acting in the manner that they're acting? Because they're hurting. It's that simple. They're hurting, and they've developed belief systems that they believe make them feel better. And a lot of times, it's, you know what I mean? It only hurts them more. But that's what we're here to learn. That's what recovery is. We're recovering from ourselves. Because the truth of the nature is we're actually all divine. We're all perfect. We're all amazing when we get to the true nature. But we've developed all these coping mechanisms and belief systems, and obviously we use drugs and alcohol and buy into that belief system and all this stuff that are just lies. And so when we can love people unconditionally, I agree with you, you get in touch with their true nature. You actually empower their light.
And we get ourselves out of the matter of fact mindset, like we know it's something is exact, like which we get so stuck on how we think things should go and should be and how things should operate and all that. And this is where you've been amazing, Fred, where that part of change that has occurred within you, because you were a very structured, lineal thinking, black and white, because you actually flourish within that. But that's the basis of what we're talking about, is like that when you open up and expand your mind and step back and look at different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm very sensitive. I don't do well with sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, and listen. I'm different. I need to be approached the way that I approach my whole, like, you're gonna be all right no matter what. Yeah. Like, I'm not. And you actually flourish with doing what you're told, being told specifically. Yeah. I just need tell me.
That's what I need.
Tell me how to do it and what to do. You flourish within it too. I know I know a bunch of people that actually flourish within that.
Yeah.
I need direction, and that's just me. In early recovery, though, we'll talk about this.
You don't always need direction, though. I do challenge you on this, Fred.
That's what I was just going to say.
Okay.
All my answers are already inside of me. All of our answers are already inside of us. Just sometimes we need help getting them out.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
That's what it is. And that's where I believe the steps help. And I do believe heavily in guidelines, too. I don't want to say rules.
You just don't believe in talking into microphones.
Guidelines are extremely important with people that are very
follow direction,
undisciplined. People who are very, which is me, and most addicts are very undisciplined. They need guidelines.
The problem with guidelines and the problem with is our mind is trying to seek safety in, if I do X, Y, and Z, this is the result. And the truth is,
it's not always like that.
That's impossible. I'm not saying that if you don't, life happens. Mm-hmm. And so not to say that you shouldn't get into healthy routines and other stuff. I think that you should, but you can go to as many meetings as you want and a fucking bad thing can happen to you and it can throw off your whole system. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to seek safety in structure, but structure doesn't always provide spiritual growth, is what I would say. Do you know what I mean? And so structure is a good component. I'm not saying structure is not important, because I do believe in participating in healthy practices. But at the same note, you also have to be open-minded to interpreting everything for what's coming. And so really the structure should be helping you provide an opening of how you're thinking. Instead of, if I do X, Y, and Z, it's like going to meetings. It's like you can go to meetings to change how you're viewing your relationship, or you can go to meetings to just feel better. There's a difference. You know what I mean? And some people never click into the spiritual growth process of everything that's happening in my life is an opportunity to learn and change and grow. And so they can utilize meetings I feel like shit. I go to a meeting, I feel better. Okay. And it's that's cool that you feel better, but when you use drugs and alcohol, you feel better too. It's that's not the point. The point in the spiritual aspect is process what's going on with you, why you're not feeling good, because there's a belief system there that's incorrect, and you need to get to the true nature of the belief system to change it, because the belief system is probably incorrect. You're probably trying to control life, you know what I mean? And as a result of that, because the control gives you safety, and so you're trying to control life, and if it doesn't go exactly the way that you want to, you get hemmed up and things, you know what I mean? And and how about letting control of how life's going and interpreting, even if you're feeling anxiety, fear, why am I feeling anxiety and fear? What is this about? So this is the process I'm on, and maybe we're getting advanced here, but I don't think we're getting advanced. We just need to teach this stuff earlier on. I do, and you can jump in too. I believe self-implemented structure is where freedom lies within. And while I was saying that, it's not that I was going against the grain, but I also kind of responded to me for you, which I think essentially what you were saying is seek out because what I thought of is because they say practice makes perfect, but we understand that it doesn't. Actually, perfect practice makes perfect. So figuring out how and what it is that you require to be practiced in order to get you to become ultimately what you're trying to be. So understanding what those practices are through the
the coming to know yourself in this process of the foundation that we talked about, and then figuring out what are these implementations that you want to structure into your life to get you to, because you flourish within structure. I know that for a fact. I know the things that you flourish when you do consistently. I'm the same way. You flourish within structure too. But it's not just any structure though. It's a certain structure catered specifically for you, because yours isn't going to be the same as mine is. And so I think what you're ultimately, and I don't know, I might be wrong with saying this.
And all I'm saying is the structure changes sometimes too.
Of course, and be open to the change.
Exactly.
Because it's not just...
Well, because sometimes the structure might be, I'm trying to get in the best shape of my life, so I'm like learning how to change to become a vegan. You know what I mean? And other times the structure is, I was going to a lot of meetings, or sometimes the structure is I'm reading a lot more, or sometimes the structure is, but there's been nothing that I've done in my whole recovery process all the time. It's consistently changed and evolved. So I agree in implementing structure, but also listening to yourself on like where you're going.
Because it's plug and play, but there's always a structure. There's always something that is a part of. And go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say, you said something about like letting go. I think the way you were saying, Justin, is a little bit advanced, but I like early on, like it was taught to me about letting go, because that stupid saying I would hear, like, shut the fuck up, let go and let God. I didn't understand it at first. I'm like, God, that's when my resentment was going on. But it's true. It's about letting go of the wheel and letting, my spirituality and someone else drive for me for once. Because every time I grab the wheel, I go off course all the time. But like that came with time, understanding that I can't control anything, people, places, and things. The only thing I can control are my actions. But something that Fred said that really kind of struck a nerve with me was like, I have everything I need inside of me, right? But it takes people. It takes people and connection for it to be brought out, especially with a connection with a higher power. Like speaking for myself, like I always look to the sky for a higher power, but it tells me in the literature, right, where and how to find spirituality. It says to search where inside yourself and how to search diligently, which means that takes a lot of work. And with a lot of work, that it's like a lot of growth and a lot of like looking. I don't want to look inside myself for anything. But, it's just like my moral compass. It's always been there. But in order for me to actually tap into it and listen to that and not hear the addict mind, that took practice and that took time away from the drug and alcohol. But you were right on point with that, 100%.
You were right on point there, buddy. That was good.
Hey, dude, see, I don't say much. And that's probably
when you do. When you do.
Tune back in episode 32. That was nice. That was good.
Shout out, Mom. What's up?
So... No, this is good. I love this, and it's nothing so matter of fact or whatever, and that's all like the detachment from thinking I know something for sure, and that's always been a part of this process, because anything I've ever thought I've known for sure has, because it's always we adapt or die. We have that mindset. True. We even talk about that with the fellowships, like believing that some of the 12-step fellowships need to adapt and how I don't know the exact answers. And I always come back to just love, you know what I mean? Just love people. Get like separate yourself from what your opinion is or whatever and all that stuff. And just in spite of how you may feel about what they're doing, how powerful it is to just love them anyway. Even if it's just it's internally, creating inner dialogue and turmoil because you really want to be matter of fact. To be able to get past that and just to love someone where they're at is because and I say this because I look back at times where I was loved where I was at, and those are the most important times in my journey. That was the most important. Those were the pivotal moments that sparked the change in who I was and where I was and sent me on this journey. And it's allowing ourselves to detach from that. That's why my grandfather always, this the only thing I know for sure is that I don't know shit. So I'm shouting him out. I say it all the time. That's not mine. That's my grandfather's. And he always used to say that to me. And that is important information for me. But also I want to bring up, I want to segue into a new topic. This actually has nothing to do with Fred. And just, I was watching this video and maybe, and I know this will get you going a little bit. It was such a cool video. Jordan Peterson, he was talking about evil, the evil within us in the darkness. We always talk about it's only until we understand the depths to which the darkness goes. Fuck you, Chris.
Mike Tyson was talking. Darkness.
And it's some stuff that you were talking about, because the presence, it's everything is a requirement. Like he's talking about, in order for us to be good, we have to have the capacity to do bad, the evil within us, right? That what makes us good, what makes us, and he was saying some of the best men that he's ever met are some of the most dangerous men. And dangerous, and not in terms like they'll hurt or do anything, but that they could, and that they decide not to, that's not who they are. And the fact that, and I think about us, because he was talking about Jocko Wilkes, Navy SEAL, and how when he was younger, he was like, he was a dark dude in his early age. He became like this amazing American soldier, Navy SEAL. He's super inspirational and stuff like that, but he went down a dark path. He got to look firsthand at what his capabilities were in that path. And in spite of that, he came back and he decided to do good. And so like when we understand the capacity for the darkness that's within us, and then we make a decision in spite of all that we are capable of, all this bad and this route, that we make the decision that we are going to do good instead and be good instead. It's
powerful.
Yeah, no, and it got my mind spinning, and I always heard him like with the understanding of the depths, right, and the darkness within us, and why we must face that, because we have to know what we're capable of. We have to know the type of damage and the type of harm and hurt we can cause to ourselves, to the people around us, to the people that we love the most. We have to look it right in the fucking face, right? Because when we're naive to it, and there's never a state of acknowledgement that that's inside of us internally, when moments come, we're surprising ourselves of this capabilities of like, holy like, look what I've done. It's when we understand what we're capable of, we're more diligent in making sure that part of us never comes to the surface, and we continue on this path and purpose to continue to better ourselves and to be on this journey, to be moral, to have a sense of morality, to be good. And I forget where I was going with that.
Well, it's embracing your darkest time to truly enjoy the light. Like,
yeah.
I think about that all the time when I'm talking with people, especially new, that you see pain. When you deal with someone that's that fresh and new, there's just so much pain and trauma in some of these stories, and cry in group all the time. And I just listen to someone and I feel for them. And it makes me think, and I really appreciate you bringing that up, because it makes me think of, I know you, like 10 minutes ago, had brought up, Fred can be a little rigid, or when you were saying, you can get tested. And sometimes that makes me tap into shit from my past too. I mean, we're all human, regardless of who the fuck's got what clean time and amount of years. And at the end of the day, we're human. We talked last week and bringing up stuff with Dakota, and I was tearing up because that's making me think of when I was 12, right? So some of it, the trauma can be stuff that makes you hurt because you felt less than. Some of it can be because you got beat up. Some of it because you saw my mother get her hands put on her. So as I got older, I'm here to tell you, though, now, sitting here with you, there's some stuff I went through then that I'm like almost not happy, because that's not the right word, but like I'm just truly okay with what happened in the past, because it makes me strong today.
Yeah, you're able to help people.
You know
today.
what I mean? I had to accept it. I read the acceptance letter every day for fucking months, years ago in treatment. And that's part of the things. My dad not being there, my grandmother dying, the one person that showed me unconditional love fucking died of cancer. After that, my life was fucked. And I remember saying it as a kid, when my grandmother dies, I'm going to be fucked. And that's scary. I'm telling you that right now, that I said that when I was like 13 or 14, right? In all the darkest shit, like, growing up less than, or fucking getting picked on, or being the new kid, not having as much, getting beat up, just all that, right? That shit crippled me back then. And now, and I've also done, you're not going to get into it, but I've done things in active addiction where, yeah, you can be fucking dangerous. I've been through and had stuff happen to me, right? And I don't like to tap into that shit now. And it's been a long time since I've had to really fully indulge into that. So I really like that you brought that up, because it does. It's like, it feels better doing the right thing and loving people up. But I think sometimes it gets a little confused with like the sit down, shut the fuck up thing. I don't think I've ever actually even said that to someone. I think that whole mindset, though, comes from when people come to you with such bullshit and lie, you just want to look at them and go, you want to say sit down and shut the fuck up. That doesn't ever come out. It does come out when I'm like, bro, you're talking to the same person. The one I'll tell you one thing. One thing that my dad told me that it's always stuck out is you can't bullshit a bullshitter. So when someone's really coming at you diseased the fuck up and they really think that you're falling for it, it's like, yeah, it can be a little rigid and you know what I mean? That's what I do like how Fred kind of is. And even though you're a little older than me, we have a very similar mindset. And we talk about this all the time. And I've gotten close with Fred, you know, and I really appreciate Fred in having those conversations because we do see eye to eye on that stuff. And he has worked on stuff and so have I. And I really do like that. That just made my mind go when you said sometimes you have to realize what you're capable of and not go there. And that's the power of recovery, at least for me.
God does for me what I can't do for myself, right? So, you know, you going through all that pain, everything like that at the time, especially me getting clean, you're like, oh my God, like why me? At least that's my mentality, right? But the way I see it now, because of step work and everything like that and being clean, I'm a vessel through God, and everyone in this room and everyone in the world they have a path and purpose, and your path and purpose could be, you know, guy coming in, sharing almost a similar story, and you're able to walk him through that, and that's the gift of recovery. And you know, and I don't even know my path of purpose until I'm actually on it, and halfway through, it's like, this is why I went through this, right? And we talked about like loving people up and like how crucial that is and like how important that is. But like thinking back at it, like how awkward was that when someone gave you your first hug? It's like, but guys loved me. And I was like, I remember like, I love you. I'm like, dude, you don't even know me, man. You don't understand like what I put my family through, my mom and all this. But it's like, that's what got me through until one day I could like, you know, look myself in the mirror. But
what was more awkward when the guy first hugged you or the guy first kissed you?
Oh my God.
Answer the question.
Coming from the guy that went to prison. Come on, man.
No, when you're saying what your dad told, I remember my dad told me, I remember him saying, what are you're afraid of ants? What are you, a sissy? And then I told you guys that story, and you guys you didn't, but then everybody called me Sissy Chrissy for about 10 years, and it became my rap name.
I just want to go on record for never calling you that.
No, you didn't.
I definitely called you that.
Yeah, I actually embraced it. Yeah.
No, you did.
I actually
because I am a sissy.
I actually freestyle once and mentioned how I don't call you that.
So what I was trying to get you to jump on though, I'm
gonna jump on it. I was processing.
It's not that we do good. It's for us. What I'm talking about is for us. It's not that because you do good things and you help people and all that, which makes you a good person. It's that you have the capacity to do awful things and to go down a darker route and to go to this evil place of active addiction. And that in spite of that, you decide to do this, to do good, that's still inside of us. We've gone down that path. We've experienced it. We've looked it right in the face. And in spite of all that which we know, one sip of this, one shot of this, that's where we're going. And in spite of that, we decide that's what makes us. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think that it's very interesting because I've been diving into this quite deep, the darkness. I actually did a deep breathwork session today where like I invited darkness in for the first time ever, which has never happened because I'm always like a seeker of the light. And it's interesting because one of the things that I do try to impress upon people is when you're using drugs and alcohol, you go to the darkness. You go to the dark side. We all know that. Anybody that's used drugs and alcohol knows that you end up in dark places. And you deny yourself in ways, you know what I mean? You literally, because my soul's desire is not that, personally.
Yeah.
And I know that. And so you almost have to get to a stage where you're denying yourself, you know what I mean, to survive. It becomes survival instinct. It's like what I brought up in the middle school one time where I was like, you never know when you're gonna have to eat somebody. But the reason I said that was because I was referencing the Alive movie. Should I have said that to middle school kids? No. But my point was
he also said you better figure out what your path and purpose is, or you could be smoking crack or some shit like that. He's like 4-year-olds like this.
So But I was referencing using drugs and alcohol as like a survival instinct. People don't understand that it kicks in your survival instinct, and all of a sudden you're willing to like steal and do all this stuff that you normally wouldn't do because you click into survival mode. So it's like if you watch the movie Alive, nobody wants to eat somebody else, but when you're starving to death, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I might fucking have to eat you, dude. It just is what it is. Yeah. You know, and it's like easy to say, I would never do that. But get put in a situation and tell me you'd never do it. Watch the movie. Watch Alive. It's crazy.
I've seen
it's
that.
like it's deep, dude. It's deep. It's just like a deep thing. So it's like, for me, but that's delving into your darkness. You don't ever know what you'd be capable of in faced with a certain situation. You know what I mean? It's like I get fascinated by Mount Everest because people train their whole lives to hike Mount Everest, and then they hike Mount Everest with groups, and everybody's supposed to make it to the top. But then you have a guy who you're like almost to the top. You paid $100,000. It literally cost $100,000 to go on an expedition up there, and some guy that you don't know that just was part of your expedition fucking man's down 3/4 up and fucking sits down and says he can't make it. And so you have a decision now. Do you want to keep going, or do you help this guy get back down? Dude, it's a fucking dilemma. It's fascinating, actually. If you watch these movies on people making the decision, do I follow through with my lifelong dream? Because, dude, you don't even know if you're ever going to get to the top. You need certain weather and all this other stuff. Yeah. And people, it's like a lifelong dream for them. And they have to decide, am I going to help this guy get down? Because the whole expedition turns around. It's crazy. It's like that's what they make a decision before they go. But some decide we're going to leave people. And some leave people and they die on the mountain. Other expeditions, the whole expedition turns around and brings people down. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating. When you really delve into this topic, it does become fascinating because we are all capable, is the truth of the matter, of darkness. There's nobody out there that isn't capable of delving into the darkness. But at the same note, faced in those situations, you get to decide, you get opportunities. Is this truly my path? And so darkness definitely serves light because light doesn't exist without darkness. So I've come to understand that, like, when we talk about listening to ourselves and our soul and, you know what I mean, going within, that we are the light in the darkness. Mm-hmm. And it is actually our soul's journey here to live from within, from our soul. And, like, when you talking about light work, I was actually impressed in the beginning there because light work is like spiritual talk. You know, we in the spiritual world, light workers, we believe there's a lot of light workers out there, but they believe also that, like, in helping people, your ego can be attached to that. You got to be careful. Really, it should be a process of shining your light, and you do help other people when you're shining your light because you give them the permission to shine their light. And so you can love people and you can live from your light, and it's not always about, like, I've definitely helped people over the time with an image of who I am helping people. My ego's gotten attached to helping people, ultimately. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm literally working now on, like, is my ego attaching to helping people? And I need to just focus more on my own light because it's like, it's the whole thing is fascinating, really. But it's like, the darkness definitely serves a purpose. But this goes back to, is there, like, and you can choose darkness. Another spiritual teacher challenged me the other day, have you read the 48 Laws of Power? And I was like, yeah, I picked up that book. That shit was dark as fuck. I wanted nothing to do with it. And he's like, well, that's not my viewpoint on it. My viewpoint on it is it's good to understand. So, like, and like, if you read the 48 Laws of Power, it's like, you know, controlling people with, like, dark methods. It's like power, which, I mean, we live in a world that implements these systems all the time. So wouldn't you want to understand these systems so that you can combat them in yourself and in others? You know what I mean? So it's like the 48 Laws of Power, it's a dark book, but it's a great book to read so that you can understand the darkness. You know what I mean? So that you can, because I can almost guarantee you, if every human being read the 48 Laws of Power, you've practiced them before. You can pretend like you haven't, like, you know what I mean? I'm like this good person who's like, lived this great life. Bullshit. There's nobody on this earth who hasn't delved into some of those laws, some of that darkness, because we're susceptible. It's like one of the learning journeys that we're on here. So, I mean, I definitely am on board with, and I used to reject Jordan Peterson a little bit, and you know this.
Yep.
Because I just believe so much in the light that I felt like he would focus too much on the darkness. But I'm changing in that manner somewhat, even though I do deeply believe in consciousness too. So I do think it's important to focus on. I think it's important to understand the darkness and see it. You know what I mean, and be open to it. But at the same note, I do believe in consciousness wins, free will wins. So if you believe that the world is changing for the better, then it is. If you believe the world's ending, then it is. And if enough people believe either way, that's the way it's going to go. Yep. So I do believe like our thinking does, consciousness does rule, free will ultimately does rule. So it's a challenge of ours on this planet to what thought forms, you know what I mean? And they also say in the spiritual world that we're here to choose at some point whether we want to be service to self or service to others. And when I say this lifetime, it's like, we get into, you could serve many lifetimes trying to learn that lesson. And some lifetimes you might decide to just serve yourself, but at the end of the day, your soul desires service to others, So that's why I'm so into spirituality and all that other stuff, because it becomes fascinating when you really delve into these subjects of darkness and light. And there is polarity to it, and they both exist for purpose.
It's just in context as far as what we do in recovery and in addiction. I just think that I love that idea of what makes us good is that we have the capacity to do these, and that we've made the decision to turn our will and our lives over, to be of service, to whether it's just as far as to whatever it is, just even when you're not, essentially when you don't think you're in service to others, just when you're in a collective, when you're in a room, when you're sharing your energy and you're in service. Yeah.
Oh, and isn't it crazy how when you expose your darkness to a room, you connect with them deeper than otherwise? You know what I mean? It's like share some deep, dark stuff, and you'll connect with everybody in the room.
Yeah.
Because it connects with their darkness too, and it reveals a piece of them that they want to deny.
And it frees them. And it's also freeing from
Exactly.
the classification of being uniquely fucked up. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was gonna say it also too. Hopefully, like especially if they're struggling, like I did, like with the ability with the ability to be able to relate to someone instead of compare. Because I would, I don't know about you guys, but I would compare and be like, I'm not like this person, I'm not like this person, right? Because I thought I was uniquely fucked up. And then one time, I forget what speaker it was, but I was like, our stories are different, but we're similar and we use for the same reasons. And like, that's where it started to happen. So by someone sharing their truth and living their truth helped me find that light, if you will, and be more open to it, that open-mindedness part,
Fred, it's been a while since you've...
I feel bad for Fred. And to be honest, I want to stick up for him for a second. They didn't have microphones back in 1860. So
wow.
Fred knows I love him. But that's it.
I just stopped myself.
Don't stop.
Don't. It's okay.
It's about truth.
To a very light spot.
Fred, you can swear on the internet.
So don't be sorry. I'm just really, all I know is I'm really blessed to be back. And you talk about not being of service so much. I just like being in the trenches. I really enjoy being in the trenches. Somebody told me a long time ago that it was what I was supposed to do, and I believed it when they said it. And I get to do. It's like I get to do this for work, and it's like it's not easy.
No.
But my life has just changed so much. I tell people to hang around for like just a year and see how your life changes. And if you just don't use drugs, you're going to get better. But if you actually do some work on yourself, you're going to be poking at yourself going, is this really my life? And when you see that happen in people, you don't see it enough. Well, maybe I do see it enough. But when you do see that, it's like, it makes it worth it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm just really I'm grateful for what I do. I really am. I'm a very blessed person to do what I do. And some days I don't feel that way. But you know what I don't? The one thing I never do is I never wake up in the morning, and it's been a long time since I've done this, and said, oh, fuck, I got to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I think about that every fucking day I get up. I'm like, I get to do this. And a lot of that has to do with meditation, which I thought was the stupidest thing I ever heard of in my life, that I'm going to sit there like this. I needed LSD to do that. But now I literally, sometimes I can get high meditating, and it's crazy. And it's amazing when I'm in meditation and prayer consistently, my life goes pretty smooth. And when I'm not, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is where we work, if you were to walk in my office and I was actually, because I do this every now and then, so you may catch me doing it, I'll stop and I will just shut my door, put on YouTube, and I will meditate for 10, 15 minutes. I mean, you get to do that for a fucking job. I mean,
not no more. We gotta start docking those fucking meditation hours from Chris. Write that down.
Yep, I got you.
Yeah. We gotta start doing some checks.
It's like I stopped meditating for 10 to 15 to 2 days.
But even when we're talking about this, think about this. Think about like if you're getting judged at the end of your life, right?
Yeah.
And you get challenged by like, how about the 8 million people on the planet that died of starvation? Could you have done something about that? You know, how many people? Think about it. Think about it. It's like we live in a society that we are more service to self than service to others.
Yeah, true.
It's the truth of the matter. This worldwide, we definitely could take care of the whole better. 8 million people. 8 million people. We're so concerned about COVID. We are nowhere close to how many people die of starvation on this planet every year. Is it talked about? No. Are we doing something about it as a collective, as a whole, as a human species? Are we operating as we are one? Or have we created systems of competition where it's real easy to just, you know what I mean? Make sure me and my family's taken care of, but like there's a bigger picture here. There's like, you know what I mean? There's a world here. And so I deeply believe at this point we're in the age of Aquarius where we're going to start to change that. And we're going to start to care more about the whole as a society. We are one. We are one species here. It doesn't matter what country you come from. You know what I mean? And it's going to take some time for us to evolve to get there. But I'm guilty. Personally. I'm definitely guilty of like, fulfilling wants and not helping fulfill needs, And so it's like in ways, when we really start to break this stuff down, you could argue that we're all living in some darkness. You know what I mean? Because it's real easy to just put on blinders of like, I'm doing my part but everybody could always do more.
Better. Yeah.
Not everybody. I mean, there are some Mother Teresas out there. You know what I mean? For sure, But at the end of the day, it's like we all have the capacity to be selfish, But we all have the capacity to be selfless also. And so at what point are we going to implement leaders that are challenging us on these things? And it's not all about fighting. You know what I mean? It's not all about like hating each other and opinions and belief systems. And it's about love.
Yeah.
Why don't we focus on love as like one of our core principles in society and see where we get with that? But,
No.
Are we there yet? No. Are we going there? I think we are. I feel like we are.
We're close, hopefully. Someday, but
Age of Aquarius, that was a song, Chris.
yeah.
By who?
The Fifth Dimension.
Really? Was that?
It's true.
What year was that?
60s.
60s. So, yeah.
The Age of Aquarius.
The Age of Aquarius supposedly started in
Just
2012.
to keep you guys in tune.
Thank you.
No,
I
that's
know
cool.
I needed that.
Being
I'm
old,
about it.
Hopefully
being old sometimes is good.
Hopefully, if I'm ever on Jeopardy,
Hopefully
in that
40
question.
years from now, we're not saying, oh, yeah, the Age of Aquarius is going to start now.
Yeah.
Well, I won't. I don't have to worry about that.
All right, we're coming to the end of this podcast, Fred. So I'm going to ask you this final question. I don't need to ask these three. I've already asked them it a bunch of times, but I mean, you could have some. This could be a good one because we like to ask like, what if you could go back and speak to the past, your younger self or beginning of this journey self, or you pick any point in time.
Back when Jesus was walking.
When you were one of the 12.
Wow.
Disciples.
Yeah.
He's just going to jump across the table and kick you in the face.
Nah, Fred, no.
I
Fred,
see him every day.
He does. Yeah, I got nothing but love for Fred. He knows that.
What would you give you for advice now knowing what you know?
Speaking to the mic.
Give the new Fred advice on talking.
You could take some time to process that.
I can pretty much say it is listen to your heart and I mean and my gut, and because it's usually never wrong. It's when I get up here, and that's why I've learned any big decisions I always run them by people. I mean, it was like the other day with a house. I called you. It's like spiritually I asked him. I don't make decisions on my own. I don't. I'm incapable of doing it because when I start thinking, it's usually fucking delusional. Because, being old, I did do some damage with the drugs I did to my brain, and I know that.
I love you.
But if I listen to this, I'm usually, it's like because I believe there's a lot more good in me than bad. So that's what I would say.
That's good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
It's my pleasure. I'm coming back next week.
No, nice. You need to because I mean, just like every other guest, we just bring people on to listen to us fucking rant. Again, like, comment, subscribe if you made it this far. Shout out, Mom. Shout out Ledoux's mom.
Hi, Mom.
I want to give a shout out to Shane.
Nice to meet you,
Deviant
she
Gentleman.
loved you.
Yeah, we'll shout them out next podcast.
Seriously.
Love you,
oh yeah, you're repping that. You should have shouted them out in the beginning, but you'll rep it at next podcast.
Shane from Deviant Gentleman.
Yes, sir.
Dave Belfort, 2 years.
Oh, congrats, Dave, on 2 years. Shout out to my man.
Andy.
All construction in the building.
Baby.
And to anybody out there sick and suffering, please come.
Yep.
Thanks.
Please.